I'm excited to share this episode 56 with you. This was a day trip we did from Verona and is one of the highlights of our Italian trip so far. Today's episode is all about Italy's largest lake, Lake Garda, and the gorgeous little village of Sirmione. We tell you all about the famous wine they make in this region, which is now one of our favourites. Listen as we take you on a fancy boat cruise on the lake past ancient ruins, snow-capped mountains, medieval villages, and fancy hotels. Sirmione is famous for its thermal hot springs, and we tell you some of the healing properties of the springs and which hotels and resorts you can visit if you want to enjoy the thermal baths. We wander the cobblestone streets past a 15th century castle and its stunning moat to the most famous spot for photos, the Kissing Point. We tell you all about the stunning beaches and views and gorgeous restaurants in the village. Listen to the end where we talk about some of the unusual shops we saw. Well, I saw them. Lyle wasn't too impressed. And where we found the massive lemons that were the size of footballs. Hope you enjoy being transported to the stunning Lake Garda and Sirmione in episode 56. Cheers! And welcome to the Beach Travel Wine Podcast. We are your hosts. I'm Leanne.
And I'm Lyle, and this is the travel podcast for beach-loving, wine-drinking couples over 50.
So if that sounds like you, grab yourself a drink, sit back, relax and listen as we go travelling the world, one wine at a time.
Cheers.
Well, buongiorno.
Ciao, baby.
How are you?
Spectacular, thank you.
That's great. Well, I'm excited because we are going to tell everybody today about a wonderful day trip we did from Verona.
Yes.
And I have to say I didn't even know about this place we went to. I hadn't really heard of it. But when we arrived in Verona, the lovely lady who was looking after us at the accommodation, suggested we go there. And,
is that how we...
Yeah.
Oh, okay,
yeah,
fair enough.
yeah.
I didn't realise that either.
Yeah, so there you go. And where we're talking about is we're going to Lake Garda and Sirmione.
See?
And Lake Garda is actually the biggest lake in Italy, but we're going to tell you a bit more about that in a minute. But our day trip, it was an easy walk from our apartment, wasn't it?
Yeah, to the meeting place, and we met at 9 o'clock.
Well, some of us did. There's always one, isn't there?
Yeah, fair enough.
Turns up late. And then there was a couple that weren't on the list.
Yeah,
and,
they turned up a day early.
And I felt really sorry for them because I've booked tickets and we've turned up a day late, remember? And then, anyway, that's a whole other story.
You mean in Granada?
I do, a long time ago. But
yeah,
that was
for Alhambra.
Yes. So anyway, that brought on the tears. But these people were happy to join in, and luckily they had room on the bus. So we walked to the bus.
Yeah. We met our tour guide, Serena, and
she was fabulous.
Yeah, she was really good. I mean, enthusiastic, friendly. Well, she was the one that actually organised the people that turned up a day early.
Yes.
She was able to rearrange things so that they could come on this particular tour. Yeah. So she was perfect.
Yes. And so we met at the front of this little theatre, and we walked probably a block and a half, if that, and hopped on our bus. It was only like a mini bus, but was there 20 of us, do you think? There probably
around that.
About 20 people. So there wasn't a spare seat on the bus. And off we took for our little trip to Lake Garda or Sirmione. And how far was it?
It was 43.5 kilometres, or about 46 minutes from Verona.
Seemed longer
by
than that,
car.
I have to say. Nice scenery though, hey?
Oh yeah, look, it was beautiful. Lots of beautiful villages, but like most of Spain, dominated by the old
Italy.
Oh, sorry, by Italy, dominated by grapevines.
And Serena was sort of telling us about the little medieval villages, and there's apparently a 50-kilometre bike track. It's flat, that goes sort of around the lake and through these villages, and it just sounded, if you're into bike riding, it actually sounded to be an wonderful thing to do. But she also told us something else which we've found very interesting, didn't we?
Yes, the best information anybody's given us in Italy, which, it just shows our biases. She told us about a beautiful wine that's grown in this area called Lugana.
Yes, Lugana.
Yeah, Lugana is
a white wine.
Is a white wine, yeah, and it's very, very special, and it's grown in the area from the southern coast of Lake Garda to the Moronic Hill, halfway between the province of Verona and the province of Brescia.
Okay.
Lugana
Yes.
is a delicate wine on the nose, but rich in minerality on the palate, with exceptional aging qualities in the bottle for a white wine.
Well, and I have to say, all that aside, which, you know, I know you like all the technical stuff, you know, if you compare it to a Sauv Blanc or even a Pinot Gris, it's, you know, quite a bit more similar to a Sauv Blanc, I think, but very, very easy to drink and really nice, wasn't it? And
I'm not sure that's just a natural thing for us or it's because we're in Italy, but but anyway, it's sort of grown on the flat. So it's
in
actually
the clay, isn't it?
Yeah, it's up to 50% clay.
Yeah.
And obviously it's, you know, for the poor old winemakers,
it's hard
you
to
know, well,
dig
probably
summer.
their personnel, hard to really dig in summer, and of course it's very muddy in when it's wet. But they say that because of the clay and the minerality of the clay is what gives the wine its character. And seriously, guys, if you ever get the chance to try it, it is beautiful. And the other side of it, because of the clay part, it does develop in the bottle, and it will go to that creamy, buttery.
Which you like.
Yeah, and we've probably had, I don't know how many bottles now.
A few.
A few, but
we haven't had a bad one.
No, they've all been perfect.
And if we go out now, that's what we look for, you know.
Straight away,
yeah. So what we're saying was a lovely trip, you know, beautiful views. And then we, after, you said 45 minutes, we got to the little township of Sirmione. And Sirmione is actually on a peninsula. It's just one of the little towns on Lake Garda. Yes. Yeah. And we drove through the town, and the bus pulled up, and we walked to our private little boat, didn't we?
We did.
As we were saying, we did a day trip to get to Sirmione and Lake Garda, but if you want to go on your own, there's a set, you know, you can get there by public transport, can't you, or drive?
Yeah. Look, the tour which I thought was fabulous value, was a 4-hour tour. It was $294 Australian. So that's probably around 200 euro. Or you can do it yourself. You can travel by train from Verona, Porta Nuova to Denzano del Garda, which is close to Sirmione. Now, there's 34 trains per day and at a cost of €445 if purchased in advance. So what we've found, a lot of places in Europe, if you purchase the tickets in advance, they do appear to be cheaper.
Now, that doesn't take you all the way to Sirmione, does it?
Sirmione.
Yeah, let's not have an Italian lesson now.
Okay. Anyway, yeah. So it's still about another 10K from the train station to Sirmione.
Now, I know that there are some shuttle buses that go from Sirmione, because we were in the tourist information centre.
Yeah, there was 14 direct buses a day from Verona to Sirmione. The last bus from Sirmione to Verona leaves at 6 p.m.
So train, bus, or drive yourself.
Or a tour.
And there are quite a lot of day trips from Verona. You know, I had a good look at those. So, you know, if you want to spend longer or add a wine tour and some things in that, you can do that. So it's well worth getting to Lake Garda and Sirmione. And so, as I was saying before, once we got there, we had a short walk and we hopped on our private little boat, really. And it's one of those glamorous boats, you know, with the wooden veneer and, you know, it just feels fancy, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's very comfortable. Yeah. Look, the Lake Garda, it's the largest lake in Italy. It's got an area of 370 square kilometers. The length is 51.9 k. I would have thought they could have gone 62 there, but anyway, elevation 65 meters. It's a popular holiday destination.
It is.
It was formed by glaciers, and it is The shoreline is divided between the province of Brescia,
So 3 Italian provinces, yeah.
Verona,
Verona, yep.
and Trentino.
Yeah,
How
that's
did
pretty
that
cool.
sound?
Trentino.
Trentino.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, look, it's
But we did
beautiful.
it is, and so we went on the lake, is what we're saying, on our boat tour. Yeah. On this big lake. Of course, we didn't see the whole 375 square kilometres of it, but it was about a 45-minute boat tour, wasn't it?
Yeah,
and
to do the whole trip, to do the whole lake, it's about
if you drove around
90 miles or 140 clicks, and I'd imagine there's just one beautiful Italian village after another.
Because I'm going to sort of describe it a bit now, and if you had a car, I would definitely recommend that you try driving and finding these little spots, because you take off out of the little marina area there at Sirmione and you head, Sirmione, and you head out onto the water. Now, the day we were there, the sun was shining, the water was flat. It was a perfect day, and it hadn't been the best weather for them. So we were so lucky. And the first thing you see, first thing I sort of noticed when you head out, besides the water, there were these beautiful swans and the little cygnets swimming around, and the ducks and little ducklings, and it was just beautiful. And everybody's standing up trying to take photos of these gorgeous little things and videos. But you start your cruise sort of along the edge of Sirmione, and that's where some of the fancy hotels are, and that looked pretty flash, didn't it? But then if you look straight ahead, all you can see are mountains, and some of them were snow-capped mountains.
Correct.
Like just these massive mountains, bottle green, this blue, like colour you've never seen in the lake, and it's almost like a mirror because it's so still. And then on one side you've got these fancy hotels, and then on the other side you can see these little villages dotted on the mountains. Like, it was pretty. Yeah, I was blown away with how beautiful that was.
Yeah. I mean, and actually the actual area itself, as I said, is a holiday destination. It actually goes, and these like 5-star hotels, I mean, really are probably more like 6-star, and their population goes from about 8,000 normally to about 1 million over the summer months.
Yes. Well, and one of the reasons for that is the thermal activity, isn't it? But before we talk about that, we're going to talk about that now, actually, because I'm sort of talking about the beginning of our boat tour, and you head out, and not too far around, you see the grotto. Like, it's an ancient Roman ruin, don't you, on top of the headland or the peak of Sirmione, yeah?
Are you talking about the grotto of Catullus?
You're a grotto, mate.
Catullus.
Whatever you want to call it. But it's a Roman ruin, and you can see all the...
It's basically the ruins of a Roman villa.
Yes.
They've estimated it was built between the end of the 1st century BC and the beginning of the 1st century AD. It's located at the northernmost end of the Sirmione Peninsula on the southern side of Lake Garda. The site includes an archaeological museum. In the 2010s, a recovery program of the historic olive groves was completed. There's about 1,500 olive trees, some centuries old, are currently present across the whole site. The olive harvest resumed in 2012. Now, the actual ruins, it's basically one of the few ruins that you can see now that was like a private residence.
Yes, and as you're going around in the boat, that sits high on the headland.
The best location you've ever seen.
And then in front of that's like a little sandy, beautiful beach area, which apparently is pretty popular as well. But go and have a look at the website and the show notes that go with this episode, which is episode 56, and you'll see I've taken some beautiful photos of the lake as we're heading out and those fancy hotels, but I've also got some photos there of the grotto on the lake as we're going around, and it's pretty spectacular. So once you pass that grotto area, you sort of head around the the other side of the peninsula, and you still have these little villages on one side and the huge mountains and just, you know, the water, and it's cruising along in this beautiful Italian boat. It was bloody amazing.
And John the skipper, he put the music on,
Oh,
like
yeah,
a little bit
a little bit of dancing going on.
Yeah, a little bit of disco, and it was really good.
But then when you get around the other side, we pulled the boat up, and we were talking about the thermal activity. And if you look over the side of the boat, you can see all these bubbles coming up, you know, can't you? So it's fascinating. You're out in the middle of the lake, and there's just bubbles coming up everywhere.
Yeah, now originally they thought it was a dormant volcano.
Okay.
But then that's now been they refuted that. It's the thermal springs around Lake Garda depend on the fault of the Earth's crust that runs along the subalpine Piedmont line of northern Italy. So basically, it's just a fault line.
Yeah. So that was I was blown away by that as well.
And what they say is there's a therapeutic applications include for respiratory.
This is from the thermal
activity.
and
healing ailments. Now in front of where we're talking about, it was about 15 meters deep.
Yeah.
And it's between 34 and 36 degrees centigrade, they say.
Nice. After we finished sort of floating around out in the middle of the lake looking at all the bubbles coming up, we went a little bit further along, and where we could see the backside, the back end, the water side of the castle, right? Which is one of the main features of Sirmione, yeah?
Yeah, look, it's the Scaliger castle. It was built in the late 14th century, located on the southernmost point of Lake Garda. Initiated on behalf of the Della Scala family of Verona, which we talked about there.
Yeah.
The castle and the bridge in Verona. It's actually, you know, the design of it's actually quite similar.
Oh, that's the same family.
Correct.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, sure.
Huh.
It is. Yeah, it was like it was controlled by the Republic of Venice from the 15th century after the Della Scala family submitted to Venice. It was used as an armory and fortification until the unification of Italy, when it became the office of local government. After World War I, in 1919, it became a museum.
Okay, which it still is today.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we're seeing it from behind, from the water, which is, you know, pretty spectacular castle on the water.
Yeah.
And we've got lots of information, obviously, from Serena, our tour guide, as well. And that sort of topped off the sort of end of the water tour, really. And then,
well, you've still got, like, the interesting thing about that particular castle is the moat around it still exists.
Sure. I was going to talk about that in our walking tour.
Okay.
But that's okay. It does exist. And you can see the exit of the moat coming into the lake. Correct?
Lake Garda, yeah.
But I was going to, well, now you've brought that up, I was going to say you actually can see it better from inland, the castle.
Close up.
Yeah, close up. But it was nice to see it from the water as well, yeah. So we did a bit of a U-turn in our beautiful boat, and
the music got up a little bit louder.
I was going to say, Jonathan put the music on. He was playing. Oh, we had Creedence Clearwater, and we had.
I think we had a bit of Village People.
Did we?
Yeah, I think we did.
It was great. There was a family on there with a couple of young girls from New York, and they were having a lovely dance and a bit of fun. And yeah, it was a. And so I just sort of sat back because the chairs were comfy and padded, and, you know, I'm just looking at the water spray, and I'm looking at the mountains and the villages and the beautiful blue crystal clear water. It was I could have sat there in that boat for hours. I felt pretty famous, and, you know, rich and famous. Actually, it was pretty nice.
Well, you know, and look,
with 19 of my best friends.
But the weather again was so good. It was just the perfect
Lyle
day.
and I've worked out, you know, the sun's out, we smile.
We're not good in the rain.
We're fair weather sailors, aren't we, Dom?
Yeah.
So, all right, so we head back, and as you're going back, you can see some of the, once again, the fancy hotels, and now you know about the thermal activity. You know that's you can understand why they've got, they're so popular. You know, they've got their little beach areas, and people come from miles around to come, as you said, for those therapeutic reasons. we head back into the marina. We see more little swans and ducks and hop off our fancy boat and head into Simone for a bit of a walking tour. Yeah.
Yes, we do, and we have to walk through the gates.
Yeah, it's only one way in.
Yeah, to the castle basically, which
well,
is
sort of over the moat, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like a little bridge over the moat through the big arch that you go through. So it's like a little medieval village. The only thing, there was a bit of road like construction going on. They were doing a bit of work on the lake, so we sort of had
in the village. You mean
going into the village? Yeah. But once you got through, the first thing you come across is the Scaligera Castle.
Yes.
Or Castella, is it in Italian?
Castella, yeah. Castello.
I'm giving you an Italian lesson. Do you remember last night we were out for dinner and I said bruschetta and the guy said, no, bruschetta.
Bruschetta, and he just said he wouldn't charge us any extra for the Italian lesson. He was a funny bloke, actually.
Yeah, that was nice. Anyway, back to Sirmione. So we didn't go into the castle, but we did a short walking tour with Serena, and then we had time to explore ourselves. And when you first walk in, there's like a plaza to your left with some pretty decorated shops and some palm trees and views down to the water. It was pretty amazing, wasn't it? When the first impressions, see or not?
So
off we go on our walking tour. After I've sort of got over the beauty of the first sort of impressions, and we head around that moat that you mentioned earlier. And honestly, there's a really nice photo of that on our website at beachtravelwine.com, episode 56, and you'll see what we mean. It's right along the edge of the castle. It opens out into the lake. The water's blue. It's a really beautiful photo, that one. And I'm glad we were on a tour, because Sirmione, if you haven't been there before, it's quite confusing. There's little windy streets and cobblestone, areas and arches to go through, and it was good. And she walked quite fast, so we had to keep up, didn't we?
Mm-hmm.
So she took us to past the church. There's a famous church there, and the bell tower's separate. Apparently that's a big deal. And then right near the church is the most famous view in Sirmione called. Do you remember what it was called?
No.
The kissing point.
Yes, I do, because we had a kiss.
We did, and you've got a big sign up that says kissing point.
Yes.
Yeah, and so everybody's lining up there to get their photos taken, and we got one. We did kiss, but we didn't get a photo of us kissing, so everyone's commented on that. So go once again. Episode 56, check out the photos, and then that beach, the most famous beach that we walked down and had a look at. It's Jamaica Beach.
Jamaica Beach, yeah. And then along a little bit further, there's the Spaggia della Muse, and that offers nice views of the castle.
Yeah, but that beach, wow.
Yeah, it is nice.
And the photo I've got is of the white sand, and there's like some pretty pink flowers, and then there's the beautiful crystal clear mirror lake with the stunning mountains in the background. It was beautiful.
And Leanne's trying to talk me into going for a swim, and actually during my research I found that they say that you should wear a wetsuit all year round because of the cold currents.
Right.
And also,
yes,
there are sea snakes in there. No sharks. No bloody crocodiles.
Is it like saying there's sharks in the ocean? Like are they everywhere? You're telling me?
I didn't say that.
No,
I just said there are snakes. There's the viper and the cross viper, and they're toxic.
How to spoil a good story? Well
but
done.
Just I wouldn't be too worried about the snakes because we're Aussies, but I would be worried about the cold currents.
You would actually. You'd be worried, even though the water's 70 degrees.
No, what do you mean 70? It's only where the
thermal are.
The thermal are.
But there's bubbles all over the lake, so surely it warms other parts of it.
Possibly, but the other thing about that, we talked about the thermal thing. A lot of the not a lot of the hotels, but a few of the hotels actually that's their big marketing point. That
they're thermal bars.
They're the thermal bars, so they have
some really fancy ones.
Well, they have bloody spas, they have swimming pools, they have all sorts of stuff going on.
People go there to do that, and you pay big money too. We're going to talk about the most famous one in a minute, But we kept going on our walk, and look, we basically just did a quick walk around, and then we had free time. And if you had more time, you'd probably walk down to the grotto and go to the olive groves and go to the other side and check out some of the fancy hotels and that sort of stuff. Because there's and walk along the different alleyways and find get yourself lost. It's one of those little places. It's not big, but you could certainly explore for a few hours, I reckon, because like there's little restaurants and little cafes that you can stop at as well. But after the Jamaican beach, we went then to the Maria Callas villa. She's a famous Italian opera singer. Is that right?
Well, she's actually from New York, but she was American, but she obviously,
had a villa
there. Well, actually, her husband
right.
Built the villa there, and so that's a bit of a big deal for Sirmione.
It is, and once again, there's some photos of that on the website. There's her
villa,
it's bright yellow villa,
yep,
up high, pretty fancy. And then right next to her villa is some parklands. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, and we didn't walk through them so much, but I went down and had it because I how I love a good park. I had a little walk and took a few photos of some nice big tall trees, and it was very, very, very pretty. And then there's another park a bit further on as well. Some nice green areas in this little village, which is good. But then sort of right opposite Maria Callas's villa is the fancy hotel with the big wrought iron gates and the big pillars and the big sort of stay out sort of atmosphere, isn't it? You're on camera sort of stuff. So
Villa Cortine.
Yeah, and I went over and took some photos through the poles of the gates. Anyway, I got it. It's on the website, but it's not cheap. It starts at what?
Well, it starts at €650 a night.
Yeah.
So so that's about 1,000 Australian.
Low season.
Yeah. So and Serena did say that the most of the places are pretty expensive, especially in the better months
season.
In high season, because there's such a demand.
Oh man!
And it's not a big place, really. Is
it's tiny.
Yeah, the whole town of Sirmione. So but beautiful.
Beautiful. So we sort of finished our little walking tour. Yes.
Yep.
And we decided we were going to head off and find somewhere to have some lunch. So when we're walking around looking for some lunch places, oh man, did we go past some fancy restaurants.
Sure.
There was one restaurant which I took a photo of, which they said don't take any photos. But that was, say, for the privacy of the guests, but the restaurant wasn't open. So, but I did take some nice photos of, under the beautiful big shady trees and the fairy lights and the fancy white tablecloths. And then there's another one that, with the tables right on the water's edge. And then there was one other that I saw once again, like it's, covered and fancy, and you can just go down to the water and so which one did we choose to go to out of all these fancy restaurants?
Because we only had limited time, we were both hungry. We went pretty early, so none of the really flush restaurants were open as yet. So we went to
a little hole in the wall.
A little hole in the wall. I would say, very authentic little cafe, and I think it was mum and her daughter.
And it was where the locals go.
Oh, for sure, because there was a couple of locals. We walked in first and ordered, and then an Italian guy and his wife came in. Well, he went straight to the bar and leant up against the bar for the entire time we were there, and his wife sat down at a table, and this guy was the funniest. He had the best personality.
Well,
he laughed at everything.
Funny. He laughed. We don't know what he was saying, but he thought it was funny.
Well, he might be talking. When you come to think of it, he might have been talking about us dumb Australians.
Yeah, you gringos.
Yeah. But look, it was a really genuine place.
Yeah, it was really nice. And I had some pizza. You had a burger. We just wanted something quick and easy because we were running out of time. I'd sort of wandered around and taken too many photos and explored too much. But the beer was cold.
It was really cold.
Yeah, and they, had a nice clean toilet, which is always important when you're out and about for the day. And it was reasonably cheap too.
Yeah, it was really cheap.
Yeah, it was nice. But by the time we'd sort of had our lunch and we were sort of just had a few minutes to sort of head back to the meeting point to get back on the bus, we had to be quite quick really, because we were running out of time. And I was glad that we had something to eat, and by then the other restaurants were open, but we wouldn't have had time to sit and enjoy those. But we did enjoy walking around and having a look at them and taking photos, and even got some photos of that. The most famous, the Aqua Resort. I can't think of what the name is. It's got where the big red umbrellas were, and that's where.
I know.
Yeah.
I can't remember the name either.
I know they've got the Cortina one is probably the most expensive, and I think this one's the pretty close second.
I had a quick look on booking.com and they were all around the same.
Yeah. Anyway, so we'll do day trips. That's fine.
Yeah.
But on the way back to our meeting point, we did do a bit of exploring, and I was really blown away with some of you probably don't even remember, but some of the real funky shops. I've got some lovely photos. There was one shop that just had all these ceramics with lovely bright lemons and tomatoes on them, and they've got all the ceramics hanging on the outside of the walls and on tables, and inside even more displays. It was just very Italian and really pretty.
Yes, you're right. I didn't notice those, but I'm sure that would have been beautiful.
It was. And then there was another one. Well, you can go and have a look at the beachtravelwine.com website, episode 56, and you'll see the photos there.
As much as you were impressed by that, I was so impressed when you got a little bowl of fruit salad while we were waiting for Serena to come back.
That's right. I'm not quite there, but I will get to that fruit salad. You're ahead of me. Thank you. But before I move on, though, if you want to see any of the videos that we took that day, on our Instagram at Beach Travel Wine, if you go to the story highlights and go to Verona, it's actually in the Verona one. We did the day trip there, and you'll see the boat we went on and out on the lake, the bubbles coming up, the castle, the moat, the fancy kissing point. And some of the restaurants, like it's all there. It's really worth going to have a look at. So one more funky shop was sort of had lots of craft and chickens and things, and I've got a really nice photo of that too. And another photo of a shop which I thought was quite interesting, which I sent back for the grandkids. He's got no idea what I'm talking about. You should see the look on his face. Is the Chubba Chups.
I do remember that.
And it had a stand with Chubba Chubs the size of a massive balloon, like I don't know if they were real. They look real. But anyway.
Yeah, you were very intrigued by that.
I was intrigued. I thought the kids will love that,
I'm confused.
Why?
It was good.
Just different.
It was very different.
And then as we left the walled sort of city, I guess, over the moat and back out, Lyle is right. Our meeting point was at another little funky stall, which they called Citrus, but I reckon it's the biggest lemons I've ever seen in my life, all hanging around that little cart, covered in these massive lemons. They were
the size of footballs.
Beautiful, though. The colours, the bright yellow. So go and check that out as well. And they were selling fresh fruit. And I did buy €3 or something for this bowl of probably the nicest fruit salad I've ever had.
Yeah, it was amazing.
The pineapple was amazing. The rock melon is
and the watermelon, had that really deep
beautiful
purple, not pink.
Yeah, pink. Yeah,
yeah, it was just beautiful.
Yeah, no, really. Yeah, so that was nice, and that sort of topped off our tour. Yeah,
I think Lake Garda.
Yes.
Obviously, I'm not sure that I mentioned it. Yeah, I did. It's 140k around.
Yeah.
I think it'd be just full of all these beautiful villages, and it was picture postcard perfect.
And that bike ride I talked about too. That's definitely, if that's something that you're interested in, you should do that, because I've seen pictures of friends who have done it, and the bike track is all the way, not all the way, but some of the way right on the edge of the lake and through those medieval villages. It'd just be perfect, wouldn't it? Yeah.
Look, just to be aware that, as we said in Sirmione, once you get into the gates, there's no cars, so you will have to park outside, and it can be very expensive.
Yeah.
So just be aware of that.
Sure. Well, we won't have to worry about that ever.
No, to be honest, I thought the actual tour and Serena was lovely.
Yeah.
I thought it was
great,
bloody cheap.
And we had it was a quick ride back. We must have driven out the scenic route, and we went back
the highway.
Highway, which was a lot quicker. And she dropped us off where we were picked up, and we had a short walk home.
Yeah, it took us about 10 minutes.
Yeah, it was great. So, Lyle, Lake Garda, Sirmione, definitely recommend it. Beautiful. One of the highlights so far of our Italian trip. See or not?
Yeah, look, I was blown away. I just thought it was absolute. And again, we had the perfect day. I was blown away by it.
We probably didn't have that many glasses of wine there, but
well, I don't remember having any. I had a very, very, very cold beer, which I love.
I can't really ask you where your favourite place to have a wine was.
I would say, if I had the chance, it would probably be sitting overlooking the water at the Hotel Cortine.
Oh, yeah.
If they let you in.
Yeah.
But look, I'm sure there's lots and lots and lots and lots of perfect places to have a glass of vino.
Yeah, I was going to say any of the restaurants with the views, or with the cobblestone streets, be just lovely. So anyway, all right. Well, I hope you've enjoyed episode 56, all about Sirmione and Lake Garda. And if you know anyone that's been to Italy, or maybe is planning on coming to Italy, then we'd really appreciate you sharing our episodes with them. If you, we're doing a whole series, is what I'm trying to say, on Italy. And if you go to the website, beachtravelwine.com/Italy, all our episodes are there. Or just, we know you're listening, most of you, on Apple or Spotify, share the link, copy the link, and send it to a friend. We'd really appreciate it. Hey.
Would it be out of control for me to say basically the next place we're going to for a week is Cinque Terre?
No, yes it would, because it's way out of order. But yeah,
but it is out of order, I know, on what we're doing. But if anybody's got any suggestions of where we should go, or any tours or any restaurants, don't be shy.
Yeah, send us a message, send us an email, leanne@beachtravelwine.com.
Yeah, we're there for 7 days.
Message us on Instagram. We're on Instagram at beachtravelwine.com, and on Facebook at Beach Travel Wine Podcast. So yeah, send us a message. That'd be awesome. So until we see you next time, somewhere in traveling around Italia, it's arrivederci from me.
Ciao, baby.